Hey there folks, it's Jennifer Vanderbeek with scrapsoflife.com, and today I have another card making tutorial for you. Full details on what I used on this card will be available in the notes section below. First I started by trimming down my blue cardstock. It has a nice wood grain pattern, but mostly I just picked it because it matched this pattern paper from Basic Gray, and the pattern paper was chosen because it matched or kind of went with the challenge inspiration. This is for the Waffle Flower challenge, which is why I am using the Willy and Friends stamp set. Actually, I would use the Willy and Friends stamp set anyway because I just adore these little monkeys. This one I have learned is named Faye, and I've stamped her in StazOn Opaque Ivory Black. And now I am inking up what I can only imagine is a little rug, or that's what I'm using of, and the sentiment, which says need a hug, with VersaMark ink, and I am going to emboss it with some Imagine Crafts white embossing powder and my heat tool. Doesn't take very long, thank goodness. Always impressive as it changes from the powder to the embossed image. Okay, so I am going to color in my monkey here with some Fabrico markers that I've just kind of scribbled onto an acrylic block. I'm using lipstick yellow, truffle, and lipstick pink, lemon yellow, and truffle. And I'm using my water brush just to pick up the color and move it around on the little monkeys, and then I'm going to use the matching dies, also available from Waffle Flower, to cut these out when I'm done, rather than having to cut them by hand. Just adding a little bit of pink for the cheeks. I love this one. Like I said, this particular monkey's name is Faye, and she is my favorite of the three that come in the set. I definitely have a favorite. Now I'm going to stamp some of the larger flowers that came in that stamp set. First, some with the Memento Luxe Pistachio, and then with the regular Memento in Elderberry. And I've done some first and second generation stamping. And to color them, I have just tapped a little the edge of the ink pad onto that acrylic block, and I'm using the water brush again to pick up the color and just move it around on the paper. This is just regular white cardstock. It might be Nina, I'm not sure. It was just a scrap I had laying around. And this might work a little bit better on watercolor cardstock, but you know, this is fine. This is perfectly fine. Yeah, and that little tiny die, the only thing I wish is that I had more of that particular flower die so that I did not have to run everything through the die cutter like 16 times, because that was a little annoying. Once that was done, I lined up my card base and one of the blue panels with the Lawn Fawn stitched circle frame die, and I cut both at the same time. Now I'm going to dry fit everything together. So the idea is that the background is going to peek through. Now, of course, I got to figure out how I'm going to get that frame to stick to the front of the card as opposed to the inside. But I figured that out, and we'll get there shortly. In the meantime, I'm going to just do a loose cut of the throw rug. Again, that's what I'm using. I don't know what it's really supposed to be, but that's what I'm going to use it as. And then just freehand cut the sentiment into a little banner. And I'm going to mat that in a little bit, but first I'm going to start putting things together. I'm using my Helmar Quick Fix Permanent Adhesive Runner, and this is a particularly gooey one, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of adhesive cleanup before the project is done. And I decided to take the inside, the leftover from that frame, and make a little hill on the inside of the card. What this does is this gives me a place to write my message as opposed to on the very busy pattern background there. And it also gives Faye and her rug a little place to sit. Now I use the other part of that leftover piece, cut out a thin section all the way around, and as you can see, I've made some little tabs. And there may be other ways to do this. This is just how I decided to do it, and I'm just putting those tabs like little spokes all around the opening. And this actually worked out really well. And now that I have those tabs in place, I can put my card front in place, and then I can apply glue to my tabs, and I can adhere the frame. And then a little later, I'll go ahead and I'll put the one inside. I'm just using an adhesive pickup to get any little extra bits of glue, and then I decided to work on the leftover piece of cardstock just to avoid getting glue, any tiny little bit of residue, just so I could keep moving. I am using Helmar Zap Dots. These are the 1/4 inch round white Zap Dots to pop Faye off her background a little bit, and I cut a sliver of some of the leftover backing for those to use on her tail. Now I grabbed another piece of the same cardstock that the card base is cut out of, and I made a little strip there for the message to fit on, and then I'm going to figure out how I want my flowers to go. I thought I was going to use the adhesive runner to put my flowers on, but that proved, it was just a little too big for those tiny flowers. So after I, as you can see here, attach the frame, the other contrasting frame to the inside, just kind of hide the mechanics there, I'm using some Helmar acid-free glue that I have squeezed out a little puddle, and I'm using the tweezers to tap the back of the flowers into the adhesive and then placing them on my card. And now I'm adding some accents on the flower centers with the Viva Perlen-Pen. And I decided to go ahead and add a few more dots. You'd always use sequins for something like this. I just happen to have this available, so that's what I used. And there's the card. Isn't she adorable? Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching how this card came together. If you did, give it a like below and make sure to subscribe. And of course, check out Waffle Flower and their challenge and their awesome stamps.